Another day, another new beta to try. Welcome to my initial impressions of the Star Wars Battlefront Beta, what is possibly the most anticipated game of 2015. First of all, I want to start with a huge thanks to Steve Lynn from DiceLA, who was kind enough to hook me up with an early beta code. I'm actually away this weekend, so having access to the beta early really gave me a leg up in terms of giving the game a good go, so go follow him over at The White Walrus. I can't thank that legend enough. So the way in which I'm going to do this is by going through some of the biggest worries about the game and then giving what I've found from playing the game for around 6 or 7 hours now and explaining how the game actually is. So first up, is it too close to Battlefield to feel like a Battlefront title? If you want a straight up answer, no, absolutely not. Yes, there might be on the same engine, and yes, the basic premise of this game is that the two opposing forces are fighting for control on a battlefield, but from what I've been playing, I can honestly say that this feels nothing like a Battlefield title. And from a Battlefield veteran, I say that with the utmost honesty. Everything from the HUD elements to the animations to even the basic game modes are different, something that hasn't really been seen before, even in a Battlefield title. Maybe it's just the fact that for the majority of the time I've been playing in third person, and it's the perspective that's been throwing me into the illusion that I'm playing a completely different game. But if you want my honest opinion, I really don't think that's the case. I think we have a fairly original and fresh chunk of shooter games on our hands here. Secondly, no server browser is a bad thing. You'd think so, right? In fact, I did think so when we first heard the news a few weeks ago, but actually, in practice, I honestly wish that DICE had done this thing in the Battlefield titles, in Battlefield 3 and Battlefield 4. For Battlefield, there are many things that can be tweaked with the servers, like player health, HUD configurations, vehicle respawn times, and all sorts of things that the server admins have control of. Now this can make the game really frustrating, because the settings might work for some people who enjoy that type of gameplay experience, but for the vast majority of other players, it's their worst nightmare. That factor is completely eliminated with this system. DICE are the ones holding the servers and making the rules, letting people play the game how it's meant to be played. Now we knew all this before, so why the change of tone? Because the system actually works. If the matchmaking was broken and put people into games with high pings, massive skill gaps, and no people in them, then the game would just suck. Instead, you hit play on the game mode that you want to play and away you go. Simple and fast. I mean, seriously, I can turn on my PC, launch Battlefront, and be in a game of Drop Zone within 2 minutes, which is so seriously impressive. Next up, does third or first person really make a difference? This is one of the things that I was the most interested in testing out, honestly, because my bread and butter of a video game is playing it in first person. I want to feel like I am the character in the game. I am the one doing the actions in game. I am the one that's making a difference. Unfortunately, because there's the option to have first person and third person, if you're using third person, you just have such a bigger advantage, like competitive advantage playing the game than you do in first person. And whilst I would really love to play this game in first person and really feel immersed in the Star Wars universe, I mean, this is honestly the most immersive sort of experience of Star Wars that we're ever going to get in video games, at least for now. Because there's the third person aspect, and because you can see so much more of the battlefield, that you can't, there's no real choice really. You have to play in third person if you want to play this game at a competitive level. The reason why it's so good, as I mentioned earlier, is that you can see so much more. Whereas if you're playing in third person, you have the field of view limit of about, or whatever you set it to, from about 40 something to about 110. That's all you can see. You can only see in front of you. Whereas if you're in third person, you can see around you, which means that, for example, if you want to see around a corner, you can back up your character model up to the side of the corner and use the camera to peek around it, whereas in first person you can't do that, and if you run around a corner, you're going to get shot and blown to pieces. So, unfortunately, there really isn't an option, a real option, if you want to play this game competitively between third and first person. I just slam it on third person and leave it there now. If you want to play this game in first person, sorry, but really you're not going to get a great first person experience here. One of the bigger questions, is it too casual? Well, it certainly seems simplified. There's no getting away from that fact. There's no ammo limit for a start, weapons are based on cooldowns, and health also regenerates absurdly fast. So yeah, the basic mechanics are watered down to make them much more simple and easy to understand. Is that a bad thing? No. In fact, it's quite refreshing to actually play a shooter that doesn't overcomplicate itself with things like suppression systems, field upgrades, and at the end of the day, you shoot people and you win. That's the basic mechanic. That doesn't necessarily mean that there's no objective to the game. In fact, I'd say that it does a better job of encouraging players to PTFO more than what Battlefield games do, because the objectives is where all the action is, with turrets and weapon pickups. This is something that I've definitely noticed while playing the game, is that everybody seems to be playing the objective to death, which is something that really surprised me, especially in Drop Zone, where the game mode is infantry based and the layout of the map literally could just be used for team deathmatch, or blast mode in this case, which I think it actually is. People seem to just be playing the objective, which is absolutely fantastic for this type of game. Now, bear in mind that whilst the majority of the gameplay that I've captured here is from the early access beta, so the people who were playing this were big YouTubers and people who, like professional people in the industry, not necessarily members of the public. Now the beta is out for everybody to play. This might change. I haven't had as much time to test that yet, but from what I played in the early access beta, this definitely seemed to be the case. PTFOing was a major mechanic of Battlefront. Do I have any constructive criticisms? Well, my only big one would be that the gunplay just seems a little floaty, if you get what I mean. What I mean by that is, I seem to be aiming at people and shooting most of my lasers, but the majority of them keep on missing, which then ends up in me being killed. Maybe this is just me. After all, I've been playing this game in third person for the most part, something I'm not very used to doing, so that could be one explanation for the issue. The other reason that I can think of would be the netcode, and I don't really want to blame it on the netcode. I mean, only bad players blame the skill on the hardware, but I really don't. I really think that this could be an issue. I don't know what sort of tick rate that these servers are running at, but it doesn't seem to be a smooth one. In Battlefield 4, when that first launched, we had a tick rate of 10, then we upgraded to 30, and now we are only just getting into the 60, 120, and 144 Hz servers. I'm not sure exactly what these are running on, but it is definitely not one of the high refresh rate ones. If this is the case, and it is the tick rate of the server that is making me miss a lot of my shots, then this should be the top priority for the devs to fix, in my opinion. This was the issue that broke Battlefield 4 at launch, and I really don't want to see this game go down the same road. The only advice I can give to DICE would be to take a look at what DICE LA have been doing for Battlefield 4 with the 30Hz and the 60Hz tick rate servers, and the numerous number of netcode tweaks that have practically saved Battlefield 4 since it was launched. The games are based upon the same engine, so it shouldn't be too much of an issue to fix. I just hope it actually does get fixed. My only other major concern would be that the main appeal of this game is the fact that it's set in the fantasy world of Star Wars. And what I want to know is, how long is it going to take before the novelty of, oh my god, I'm in Star Wars, wears off and the player basically just realise that actually at the core it's just another shooter. That's why DICE has such a huge task on their hands here, because if they can't uphold that wow factor, a lot of the player base is just going to fizzle out and leave after a mere few months. You want an example? Look at Battlefield Hardline. I needn't say any more. Now remember, this is only a beta. Things can be changed if they are pointed out to the devs, and this is only a small chunk of what is likely to be a much bigger game. More maps and weapons are likely, if not definitely, going to be in the game, as well as new cards and heroes. In fact, you can see a preview of all the game modes that are going to be in the game on the launch window, if you want an idea of what you're going to be getting in the final product. I really hope that this game is successful, because I'm kind of riding on this being a success. For me, the Battlefield games are getting a little bit outdated. We've been playing them for 2 years now, so hopefully this can be a suitable replacement for stuff that I can make content on. At the minute, I've kind of got writer's block for Battlefield 4. I just can't see any way of me making any more videos on it, apart from maybe weapon reviews. but we're going to have to wait and see. I'm counting on you, DICE. Please make it happen. What I want to say very quickly before I end the video is make sure that you actually play the beta for yourself. It's free to play, there's nothing stopping you from trying it out. What I've noticed over the past few days of me asking people what they think of Star Wars Battlefront is that they've said, oh, it looks rubbish, or I'm not too sure. The correct way to address that question would be to say, I'm not sure yet, because you've not had a chance to play the beta. Now there's nothing stopping you. Go and play this, it is free, nothing stopping you from playing this game. Do not base your opinions on what I've said here today, or on what other people have said on the internet. Play it for yourself, form your own opinions, I think you might be quite surprised. So, Star Wars Battlefront, just the pretty face or the flop of 2015? Let me know your thoughts down below. As always, if you enjoyed, don't forget to leave a like and subscribe. I've been MajorMeteor, and I'll catch you in the next video.